I'm gonna react to some videos right now. We're gonna react to this video, how Wuthering Waves fixes a major gacha game problem. Nice 6-minute video, good length. This video is by Gacha Dokuro. Dub. All right, let's see. Yeah. How Wuthering Waves fixes a major gacha game problem.
Gacha games. It seems like more and more are being released every year, and as each game continues to evolve, the character and their kits naturally have to follow. These kits over the years continue to grow more and more intricate, and oftentimes as a result, these kits start to become longer and longer until they eventually become full paragraphs. For example, in One Piece Treasure Cruise, the very first 6-star character had this as a captain ability. Pretty simple and concise. Now skip forward about 9 years, and you have characters whose kits look like this. Granted, there was about 9 years of steady power creep in between this unit and this unit, but this is a lot even for veteran players. You have to not only read this entire paragraph, but also understand every part of it just so you can start using the character. So how much more daunting?
I agree. Even in Star Rail that's been out just for, I mean, that's not so bad. Star Rail's kits are not really so complex, but I see what he means, because like you can start off simple with simple kit design, stuff like that, but then you kind of have to progressively make them more and more complex, because eventually you run out of like simple kit designs, right? So you have to make them more unique, and then you also have to make them fit certain niche scenarios so that you can sell other units and stuff like that. So
is it gonna be for new players who have just installed the game? Probably one of the biggest offenders of this is the ever popular Genshin Impact. Genshin Impact's character kits are notorious for being incredibly verbose and having different terminology specifically for each character kit. To better understand this issue, let's have a look at one of the most recent characters, Arlecchino. If a new player is to fully utilize Arlecchino to her fullest potential, these are the list of words that they need to know. And of these phrases, these are the ones that are only used in Arlecchino's kit and nowhere else. This would be fine if the kits were just verbose and just had their own unique terminology, but these kits cross-reference each other by name. So now to fully utilize Arlecchino, you need to read and understand paragraphs of text, learn the terminology which is only used in her kit, and then memorize that terminology so that when it's cross-referenced by a different part of her kit, you can fully understand how they interact with each other. More often than not, these new players will just resort to watching a YouTube video guide to understand the kit better, which can be upwards of up to 30 minutes. So then the question now is,
they don't have to be 30 minutes long, to be fair, but I know what you mean. It takes more than 30 minutes probably to just read it yourself and make your own build. Normally that's kind of what I do. I do a little mix of both. Usually in Star Rail, I just kind of I read the kit for myself first, and then I'm like, okay, if I still don't know how exactly it works, I'll watch a video to explain it better, and I'll be like, okay, let me put some relics, whatever, bada bing, bada boom.
How does one convey all of this information to the player in a concise and easy to understand manner? Enter Wuthering Waves. Developed by Kuro Games as a direct competitor to Genshin Impact, Wuthering Waves shares a lot of similarities to Genshin, from the open world design to the extremely long and verbose character kits, even down to the progression system in the game. However, Wuthering Waves has one system that makes learning character kits much easier than reading a wall of text: Forte Circuit. That's right, one simple bar above the character's HP somehow communicates nearly all of this information without having to open the character menu once. But how? How can one single UI element communicate all of this information without any text? Before we can answer that, we must first learn what a Forte Circuit is. In Wuthering Waves, every single character's main passive is tied to the Forte Circuit. It doesn't matter if the character is a healer or a sub DPS or a tank, all of their main passives are tied to this bar. This standardizes all character kits to one UI element, much like how HP is standardized to the HP bar for all characters. Typically the bar is filled by hitting the enemy or using the character's skill. A pretty standard affair, especially for those who have already played Genshin. But then what do players do when that bar is filled? The devs thankfully already had a solution for this and placed a little indicator telling you which button to use to activate your Forte skill. Forte skills are skills that, as the name suggests, uses the Forte Circuit in some way. Each character utilizes Forte in radically different ways. For example, the main character switches their quick dash for a sword throw that circles around them, dealing continuous damage. Yang Yang gets an enhanced plunge attack that deals multiple hits, and Chisha shoots a lot. Probably one of the most creative usages of the Forte Circuit mechanic is in Sanhwa's kit. Sanhwa doesn't fill her Forte Circuit at all, but instead there's a small blue portion towards the middle. The blue portion could be made larger by using her skill and or her ult. If she holds her charge attack, her Forte
Yeah.
circuit becomes a mini rhythm game, rewarding
Oh, what the
players for
hell?
releasing the charge attack in the blue portion of the bar. Sanhua's creative usage of the Forte circuit opened
Wait,
my
that's
eyes
cool,
to just how
bruh.
versatile of a mechanic it could be. I was so impressed with its usage in her kit that I immediately began scripting this video. After all, I also needed to justify
I-
seeking over 30
I actually didn't know that. I think that's really cool and unique. The only thing is like with these little like small differences in each character, right? That like obviously the game is supposed to be difficult, right? But with these like little small differences, eventually won't it get kind of overwhelming to try to learn every character and be able to like swap them in and out and be like, oh wait, what does this character do again? Like you have to spend like 5 minutes warming up with them before you just like clear a echo.
30 hours into this game in just 3 days. So now that we've talked at length about the Forte circuit, how does this solve the gacha game problem of having kits that are the length of entire novels? The answer is that it doesn't. Wuthering Waves still has character kits that are incredibly verbose, and much like Genshin, also has unique terminology to those specific kits. Instead of solving the issue, it gives a different alternative route to circumnavigate having to read the kit entirely.
You can just be brain dead and then just only look at the Forte thing and then be like, okay, well, I don't need to understand the kit if I'm just doing the same thing, like, if I'm just being just as effective in battle.
By having the Forte circuit build up while in battle, it helps create a positive feedback loop, ensuring
Right.
players that they are playing the character correctly.
Yeah.
Additionally, by simply having the button prompt for the Forte skill on screen, it communicates how to use the Forte circuit without ever having to open the character menu at all. All of this information is silently conveyed to the player, all while players can continue to enjoy the game uninterrupted. In a word, it's intuitive. Now, this is not a perfect solution, as a lot of intricacies and specific values of the kit cannot be communicated with the Forte circuit UI alone. But for those players who want these values, they can always open the character menu and sit down to read the skills in its entirety. However, for those who just want to try their characters as quickly as possible, this helps streamline the process, as now players only have to level up the character, equip good gear, farm up echoes with the correct substats, farm their ascension material. Okay, maybe this didn't streamline the process that much for existing players, but for new players who have just started the game, this UI in tandem with the tutorials will not only teach them how to play new characters, but also provides a solid base off of which the other systems of the game can be layered on top of. And at the end of
Right.
the day, the new player experience for gacha games is one of the most important parts of the entire experience, as the first impression will more often than not determine whether the players will stick with the gacha game long term or not. Ultimately, the Forte circuit is a wonderful step in the right direction to addressing the issues of overly long kits in gacha games, but it's not a perfect fix. I'm curious to
No, I do agree with this video. I think the Forte circuit mechanic is really nice because it doesn't it's not a perfect solution, you know what I mean? But it does provide a nice casual solution for people who don't want to read paragraphs or watch like a 30-minute YouTube video on how to play a character. To just like intuitively, like you said, play the unit and just be like, okay, well, you know, as long as I'm able to use this, you know, often or whatever, as long as that's working, I'm using the character somewhat correctly. And you know, on a try hard level, I mean, of course, there's always more you could be doing with timing and how to use it, like how many times to use your E or like combos and stuff like that. But I agree.
see how gacha games handle this situation in the future. Maybe there will be more UI features to help communicate to the players non-verbally. Maybe unique terminology will be thrown out in favor of standardizing kits even further. Ultimately, only time will tell. And who knows, maybe I'll make another video like this in the future.
I did subscribe. That means I'm cool. W. Good video. Good video. Very informative.